What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Press X Podcast, episode 97, your weekly podcast for gaming news and opinions come at you each and every Monday at noon Eastern. I'm Kevin McManus. With me, Yuri Cantrell.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Make sure you talk right into the thing.
Is this better?
That is much better.
Okay.
You're going to pull what we call pulling a Todd. So we had Todd on the show, good friend Todd. He likes to talk like this. And no one can hear him. And we're like, Todd, you need to lean into the microphone. He's like, I'm done with this.
Oh, man.
We haven't seen him since. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about some VR stuff. We're going to be talking about Nier, a big EA purchase that happened, which is very interesting. And we're going to be talking a bit about Days Gone, which is a game that we haven't heard from since E3 this year. Maybe we'll see it at PSX coming up next month. But we're going to be talking about that and The Last of Us Part 2 and kind of see how they compare, because that was something that was brought to my attention, and I wanted to talk about it. But first, we'll start with what we've been playing, which I noticed I've titled this What We Are Playing, the whole show. For the whole lifespan of the show, it's been called What We Are Playing, and I've never once said that. I always say what we've been playing. So something's got to change, and it's probably just going to be the little thing up there. So what we've been playing, let's start with you.
All right. So I pretty much dedicated all of my time towards 14 after the Stormblood expansion came out. This close. Okay.
You can pull the mic closer, too. I like doing
probably
that
do
sometimes.
Okay. So yeah, pretty much been there during the patch 4.1 to get a Shirogane house.
I was going to say, you got a house.
Yes.
This is like a big deal in that game.
It is.
Don't they, as somebody who's only played it till level 30 or whatever the trial is, they only have a certain number of houses. It's like an actual real estate market.
Kind of, because it's got different wards and then subdivisions. So yeah, they're very limited. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew that was... I like that game just because it's Final Fantasy. Like, I like the world and everything. But I didn't like the combat or anything like that. But I thought that was the coolest thing about it, is that they did this weird, like, actual real estate market type thing going on with the player houses. And I was like, oh, that's neat. Because most games are just like, anybody can have a house. You just build a house, or there's just no houses. That's the other option. And I thought that was a neat way to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's basically all you play. Whenever you play, you're like, I'm going to play this Final Fantasy game.
I mean, I should branch out more. And I have with, like, smaller games like Ever Oasis, like, small stuff, Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
But I
85 hours in.
I kind of co-run a free company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason why most of my time is dedicated towards that.
Right. So let's go down my laundry list of what I've been playing, because it's a lot of stuff. I'll start with Mario Odyssey. I've talked about it for a couple weeks now, but I have like 750-ish moons in that game, trying to 100% it, trying to get all of them. It still hasn't been taxing, because there's enough moons left still that as soon as I get like stuck on one, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go find another one. I don't care. Yeah. But when I feel like when I'm getting down to the bottom, like 50, it might start being like a trial and error thing, because I just like can't get this certain moon, and that might get frustrating. But still, I put dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of hours into that game. I'm still not bored of it at all. And I haven't had one moment yet where I'm like, I should shut this off because I could be playing something else and be having more fun. Like, it is just such a blast to play. So really loving Mario Odyssey. Last week we talked Odyssey versus Zelda. And I was like, right now I would say Zelda would win in like a head-to-head battle. But I feel like a year from now, if I'm like, I'm going to play something on my Switch, do I want to play Zelda or Mario? I would absolutely pick Mario. That's just like similar to 64, how every once in a while I load that up and I'm like, I'm just going to get like 20 stars in this game just to kind of remember. And I feel like I'm going to be doing that with Odyssey. And for years to come, I really do think I'm going to be going back to this game multiple times a year just to play it a little bit, because it is such a blast. And the movement feels so good. I watched... my first speedrun of the game, watched somebody speedrun it, and the stuff that they were doing, just movements and stuff that I didn't know that you could do, made when I went back into the game so much more fun, because I was like, I can make that jump, because you can do like a triple jump, get really high up in the air, you can throw your hat and like have it float there, then you can dive onto your hat, then you get to bounce off your hat, then you can dive again. So you can like cross these huge long gaps, and you can do things like ground pound and then jump, which gives you like a double jump basically, to then do that same sequence and get really far and higher than you were from your base jump and things like that. Like there's a lot of mobility, and it's really fun watching the speedrunners try and like crack how this works. So I think this is going to be something where I'm going to 100% it once in my life, and then it's just going to be run through the game as fast as I can, restart, run through the game as fast as I can. Like, that'll be the fun of it to me. And I'm super excited for that day. Next up, I've been playing Bound. This is a PlayStation Plus free game, and it's very good. I highly recommend it to everybody, but it's free, so I don't need to talk about it too much. But basically, you are the story is very abstract. It reminds me a little bit of a Journey or an Abzu. You are a dancer, and the world around you is very geometric. And when you come close to things like walls or doors, they kind of erode, I guess is the best way to put it, and fold in on themselves so that you can enter through. And the joy of the game is really just the animation of this ballet dancer. She dances everywhere she goes. Her jumps are, I don't know any ballet terms, but her jumps are the little like split jumps that ballet dancers do. Okay. Her attacks are all just dancing moves. When she's walking on a ledge, she does it like a tightrope walk. When she's up against a wall doing like a sneak up against a wall, she puts her back to the wall and kind of twirls. Like, it's just really pretty animation, and it's really nice to look at. I'm about halfway through it. I'm playing it completely. It's playable completely in VR. So I'm going through it in VR, which I feel like is making it much more enjoyable because the world is so pretty. Even though it's all geometric, it's very bright. It's a lot of like orange and reds and just colors, and everything's constantly like pulsing and moving. And it's just cool to look around the world and be like, this is a cool world.
That does sound awesome.
There's a run button. I don't use it because I like just walking and kind of taking in the scenery. I don't know exactly how long it is, but I think I'm about halfway through it. So I've been playing that. And then the other big-ish thing is there's a new demo disc for PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR launched with a demo disc that had, 16 games on it that you could try out, which I thought was really smart because, especially you, some people play VR, they get real sick and real nauseous.
Yes.
You are by far the worst person I've ever seen try to play VR. You are the worst that I've seen try.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing just because there's so many things I want to show you and be like, oh, this is so cool. And you're like, I can't do this. If the
character's stationary, then I could definitely play it. No issues.
Right.
But if you have to move, like physically move in there, then I probably will get sick.
Right. And it's unfortunate just because there's so many VR things that I like. But this is the point of the demo disc, is you can kind of see, oh, this game works for me. This game doesn't. Like, basically nauseous levels, which is cool. But then on top of that, for people who can handle everything, it's just like a free trial of all these games, which is really nice. So I went through a couple of them, and there's a few that I just want to throw out that I liked or didn't like that I want to point out. Moss. Really awesome. That was revealed at E3 this year. You're basically a mouse, and it is a third-person like storybook almost. And you're controlling this mouse with the left stick, and then with the controller, you can interact with the environment. So you can do things like push statues into place to open a door, and then you have this little mouse character that you control, and he's basically very basic, runs, jumps, and has like sword attacks. This game looks awesome. It's by a bunch of ex-Halo devs. And I knew it would at least be good, and people have been talking about it who have gotten to play it. It's really fun. The combat is really fun, and that's where I was worried. I thought the combat was going to be a little bit like, Lego, maybe? Like those Lego games where you just kind of hit square and things die. But it felt way more engaging than I thought it would be. You can hit things with the controller and like freeze. They'll turn into ice and freeze them, and then you can kind of push them around. So you can do that to unlock doors and do puzzles and things. So it's definitely a slow-paced exploring game. And then at the end of the demo, there is what seems like a boss fight, but it cuts off. And I'm excited to see that whole picture painted because what they gave me was awesome. Next is Dino Frontier, which is something I didn't think I would like at all, and I ended up loving. It's just a diorama. It's The Sims, basically. You have a little guy, and there's trees, and you can send him to go cut the trees. And then you can pick up the wood, like you use the 2 motion things, and you pick up the wood and you can build a like sawmill, and you can cut the wood up and then use that to build a tavern, and then use that to build a hospital, and then like you build these things, and every time you have a little watch that shows you what level you are. You're leveling up, you're getting more people, you're cutting more things, you're making more food, you're fighting dinosaurs for meat. Then you can attack the dinosaurs and build like a pen and pick them up and put them in the pen, and then they can ride the dinosaurs. And the whole thing is just you push in the buttons on the controller and like squeeze or like contract, and it's like you're grabbing the whole thing and expanding it to look close, or pushing it all together to zoom all the way out. And you're just playing with this little diorama field. It was really cool. I was thoroughly impressed by it. After that, Starchild, which is the one I was probably the most excited for, besides maybe Moss. This is a side-scroller in VR, which is something I've wanted for a long time, because I think that could work really well, and nobody's tried it. It is straight side-scroller puzzle game, similar to Limbo, similar to Inside, Little Nightmares, things like this. And it seems pretty similar to Little Nightmares, except it's not like scary, in that your character walks, you'll hit a dead end, you need to solve the puzzle, open the door, and move on. And then at the end of it, it's really short. At the end of it, there's a lot of background intrusion into your area of side-scrolling, which is cool. Like, things are popping out and like trying to grab you, stuff like that. And you end up getting on a robot that was in the background, and he like puts you inside of him. And then I assume you get to kind of control him or something, but the demo ends, so I don't know.
That sounds cool.
So I'm really excited for that. And then the last one I just want to touch on really quick is Raw Data, or Data. What do you say? I say Data.
I think of like Star Trek when I say data. So.
Oh, okay, that's fair. This game is your typical Time Crisis style, shoot the things walking at you, protect the thing, It does have it has teleportation movement, and then you can kind of spin in circles. It was, for what it was fun, but I'm definitely not like, whoa, but it's a fun arcade experience.
Okay.
It definitely feels like an arcade thing. And I never get used to something jumping at you in VR. No matter how silly it is, they look like crash test dummies. But when they jump at you, you go, ah, like that's just what you do. Also, Starchild has little spider things because it's an alien planet that you're on. I don't know why people keep doing that in VR. I'm real sick of the spiders. Until Dawn did the spiders. I didn't like that. Resident Evil had them, but it wasn't super bad. But then Farpoint was all just like arachnidy aliens that jump at you, which is not cool. And then this has arachnidy aliens. So I'm like, you would think with so many people afraid of stuff like that, they would stop putting things that look like that in VR.
But they know it'll make people jump, though,
Yeah, but it's fine for like Until Dawn and stuff. But like when you're just trying to make an alien space shooter game, I don't want to make my aliens look like spiders. Like that just doesn't. It seems like a way to get a bunch of people to not play your game like me. People that would completely otherwise play the game, but I'm 2 hours in and there's too many spiders jumping at me. So let's move into some news. Kind of a lot of news this week. Some of it major, some of it just kind of financial reports and things like that. But I'll start with more VR since we're kind of in that realm already. PlayStation VR is getting a bundle for Skyrim VR, which I think is a great game to bundle with it. I'm super excited for Skyrim VR, and this is what they should have done with the Vita. Is just bundle every major-ish game,
Yeah, definitely.
You have Uncharted, Golden Abyss. You didn't make a bundle. You have Gravity Rush. You didn't make a bundle. You got, just make a bundle for any game anybody would be excited for. The only bundles that I can think of is they did Assassin's Creed, which is good for the Vita, and they did a Call of Duty, which was, a good idea, but the Call of Duty was bad. So putting Skyrim in a VR bundle is a step in the right direction for Sony, since I feel like they messed that up with the Vita. It's $450. It comes with the VR, the camera, 2 Move controllers, and the game, and it's coming, I believe, at the end of the week. So cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. Play Skyrim at all?
A little, not very.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Oh, really?
But like my first experience was with Morrowind, and it was around the time when first person would always give me headaches. I don't know why games
See,
hurt me so much.
this is going back to the VR thing.
I know. But I feel like I'll probably give it another chance just for that, because I worked more into being able to withstand first person a bit more.
Have you played third-person VR?
No, I don't believe so.
Maybe try that.
Okay.
Or maybe not. I don't know. But
I'll at least try it.
that might be worth investing. Yeah, I haven't played Skyrim at all. I love telling the story because it makes me so happy. I got Skyrim as a gift. I traded it in and got Catherine, and that game's just the best.
Yeah.
So
that is one of your favorites.
yeah, so I don't have any attachment to Skyrim. I don't think I'll like Skyrim, like all this stuff. That being said, I'm playing it in VR.
Like when it was first out, I knew it would eat up all my time, so I didn't play it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of my friends got it to where there was like it was bundled with a hat, and he just wanted the hat.
So is this one technically?
Yeah. But like he kept the hat and gave me the game, and when I was about to play, another friend like kind of snatched it so she could play. So I've only played like the very intro, like beginner stuff. So.
Yeah, this comes with all the DLC and everything, which is good because they're charging full price for it again. But I'm totally super excited for this game. And I think, like I said, the bundle's a good idea. I'm seeing commercials for it on TV, which is really neat, like particularly in front of football games. Very good. Next up, some sales numbers. Resident Evil 7 has sold 4.1 million units. I think it is the 7th best Capcom selling game. They were, at least originally, kind of disappointed with the sales of it. I don't know if that's turned around. They're doing the Gold Edition at the end of the year that has all the DLC, so they're going to get more sales. It'll probably jump up another rank or two, I believe, overall when they're done, especially because they have all that DLC coming out. Maybe just get word of mouth going again. So that's awesome because I love Resident Evil 7. You saw me start Resident Evil 7.
Yes,
Yeah, that was fun.
in VR.
That was a good time. I beat that whole game in VR.
I believe you.
I platinumed it actually. But yeah, so Resident Evil 7, one of my favorite games. Super excited for the DLC. I actually got rid of the game. Fun fact: got rid of the game because I'm buying the Gold Edition. So I'm just gonna get it when it re-releases as the Gold Edition, basically. But hopefully they sell a little bit more. They get a couple ranks up there. Their top selling game was Resident Evil 5, I believe, which was their super action one, which is weird because that's what everybody hates, or so it seems, but that's the one that sold the best, so maybe not. Like, there's a weird, that critical, oh, we want what you did before, and then just the general audience, like, no, we're going to go. It's like the Transformers movie. Everybody's like, stop making Transformers. Nobody likes them. And it's like, this made $1 billion.
Right.
I think you're wrong. Like, I don't know. So that's a big one. PUBG. You follow any of this PlayerUnknown Battleground stuff?
I need to, but no.
I don't need to. Why? But because I'm a big Fortnite fanboy now. I've been playing Fortnite, and they're bitter rivals to the end, so I can't acknowledge PUBG. But PUBG has sold 20 million units, which is a whole lot. The game is $30, I believe, so that is important. It's a cheaper game, and it's just a multiplayer experience. But 20 million units is a whole lot of units, a whole lot of money. And I thought this was funny because they posted this, and then a day later, Fortnite's like, we've hit 20 million players. You guys and your little contest that you're having. So yeah, PUBG isn't even technically out, though. It's an early access, which means you beta test the game and you have to pay for it. So that's cool. Next up. I don't think I've talked to you about this game. I don't know. Nier. Have I talked to you about Nier at all?
No, you
have you played Nier at all?
No, because that was still around the time I was playing Final Fantasy.
No, that's
There's
fine.
Like a handful of games that are like stacking up.
That's fine. I'm not going to go into it. We'll talk off camera.
Okay.
Nier, amazing.
Yes, I believe.
Amazing. And there's a lot of things I'll tell you about whys and all the stuff that I've talked about on the show. I don't need to right now. Anyway, and the Nier producer has confirmed that there is a new game in development. We assume this just because, one, the game sold really well. It was critically well received, and there was a job listing for another Nier game, so that wasn't good. But this is super exciting to me. The director of these games has sort of like Kojima-ish vibe to me. He's not quite Kojima, but I feel like he's working on it. He's like little Kojima. And I now, basically any game that he makes, I'm probably going to check out just from playing this one game. And I'm trying to go back and play his other games because he's done like the Drakengard series and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So that would be awesome. But yeah, new Nier. I don't know what I want out of it. I obviously don't want to talk too much about it because story spoilers from
I can just.
the first one. Nah, I mean, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to
Alright.
spoil it for anybody else. But I probably would want it more similar to we had Nier on 360 and PS3, and then we got the Nier Automata, one on our current gen consoles, and they take place like so far apart that they're almost distant. Like they basically don't influence each other at all. I guess is the best way to put it. So I hope that they do that again. Like just make it so that you can make a new world to explore. Because that's part of the fun of it,
Yeah,
is
that's
discovering the world and seeing what happened. And a lot can happen if you make it set 1,000 years later or something like that. So go ahead and do that. Next up, Ni no Kuni 2. You're a big fan of Ni no Kuni.
Yes, I really do like that.
Yeah, I've told you about it. I couldn't get into it. I played it for like 15
I
hours.
even got the app that had the different monsters or whatever they're called now. But like.
Familiars.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't get into Ni no Kuni. That was the problem. It turned into Pokemon like
I like
10
Pokemon.
hours in.
So, yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to collect these. I don't want to fight with these. Like, I liked the combat when you were playing as the kid. And now I'm playing as a kid who's controlling another thing. And the boss fights got real hard. And it just got to be too much. But anyway, Ni no Kuni 2 seems to have been delayed. This is an unconfirmed report. We might know by the time this posts, etc. But Best Buy has it listed for March 9th, and they posted or sent out an email to pre-orderers that it's been delayed. Sony has a date of June 30th now. And then just recently, I think it was yesterday, Best Buy sent out a message that they were wrong and it's not delayed. So who knows?
Yeah.
Because that happened after I already wrote down this news story to talk about, which kind of negates the news story, but I figured I'd throw it out there. So we'll see. What do we want to do next? Let's do another delay. Bravo Team has been delayed until March 6th, and The Impatient has been delayed until June 23rd. Those are both VR games done by the same team, Supermassive. They did Until Dawn. They did Until Dawn Rush of Blood. They did Hidden Agenda recently. They are two VR games I'm super excited for, and they've both been delayed, and that's okay because there's a lot of games this year that are all very good, and I want to play them all, and there's almost too much, so. Niantic. You know Niantic? Pokemon Go.
Yes.
It was a little thing
Yeah.
that they made. People were real excited about it. People hated it, but kept playing it. I don't know why.
You still play, right?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I completed my Pokedex, which to me, I mean, I didn't get the like Australia stuff, but I completed my regional Pokedex. So I only play whenever there's a new Pokemon. So like for Halloween, they put out Gen 3, Dark Pokemon or whatever they're called. I don't know. So I got them, and now I'm done again. So now I'm done again until they release more. Because that's the fun of it to me, is completing the Pokedex. But anyway, they have a new game coming out in 2018, Harry Potter Wizards United, or Wizards Unite. And it's an AR game, similar, I don't know about similar to Pokemon Go, but it is an AR game, like Pokemon Go is, Harry Potter universe. It's a big seller. That sounds like Pokemon to me.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a real fun summer again, I think. I don't even care that much about, like, I like Harry Potter, it's fine. I'm going to play that with everybody again, and I hope it's the same experience as Pokemon Go. But I don't know what you do in Harry Potter world. Like, you don't, unless it's like Fantastic Beasts, but that sounds horrible. You got to catch all the Fantastic Beasts. I don't want to do that. But, I don't know what this game could be. I mean, you could obviously duel each other, right?
I was thinking that.
It's an
yeah.
option. You get your houses. That's the easiest thing. You know, you're going to get your Ravenclaws or your... What house are you? You know?
Well, when I first did, what was it, Pottermore?
Yes.
I was Gryffindor, and then I tried recently, and now I'm in Slytherin. So I guess I changed a little. Yeah.
Can't trust you. Yeah, so you obviously will get your house, and it'll probably be a bunch of like house game stuff, and you get like points for your house. I imagine all that is probably there, but I don't know what the actual game is. Like, I don't know what you do when you're walking around fake Hogwarts world, you know?
Yeah.
So, whatever. I'm excited for it whenever it comes out. They wanted to point out that they're not dropping Pokemon Go. This is actually like a Warner Brothers development team working on this, and Niantic's kind of just like there for the AR stuff as far as I understand. But they're partnering with Niantic, but their bulk team is on Pokemon Go still. And they wanted to make sure everybody knows that. The Harry Potter game will probably be way better than Pokemon Go, to be dead honest. Next up, Injustice 2. They had a new trailer. This dropped really late. There's a fighting game tournament because that's what they do. And they dropped the trailer at the end of the fighting game tournament. And we saw Adam, who we already knew was in the game, but we got to see more of him. Enchantress got revealed, which is cool. That was my guess. I wanted to do a full roster prediction for Injustice, and I never did it. But Enchantress. And then I thought we were going to get Etrigan the Demon. That was my guess for this, / Jason Blood. That's what I thought we were going to get. I thought, at best, we were going to get Spawn. That was kind of like a rumor going around. People wanted Spawn. Mm-hmm. We got the Ninja Turtles. This was super surprising and super awesome, and I feel like it fits well. Like, if you're going to do guest characters, don't do Mortal Kombat characters, please. Stop it. Like, do comic book characters. Do Hellboy, like they did, and do the Ninja Turtles. They're actual comic book, characters that fit in a game that is DC comic books, and then you can have cameos from these other comic book things. I think that's awesome. So let's talk about how we think they're going to play a little bit, because there's something interesting in the set in the trailer, and that was we fight as a team, we fight together,
something like that,
something along those lines. And to me, that screams Pokemon Trainer from Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. I think you're only controlling one turtle at a time. Maybe they'll be combos or something that you can like chain together just because they look cool. Yeah. And I'm sure the finishing move it has all of them. But I think it's going to be similar where you use your trait, your circle button, whatever it is, and you can swap turtles. And that's kind of how, and it's got like a cooldown or something. Mm-hmm. And you can swap the turtles on the fly, but they're one character, the Ninja Turtles.
To me, that makes the most sense as well.
Yeah, I don't think they'd add 4 characters for the same price as everybody else's 3-character bundle.
I have a couple of friends that think they are the individual characters rather than, a foreign one. But
yeah, I just... The fight as a team thing is really suspicious to me, and then the fact that this is a DLC pack that have been 3 fighters, I feel like they can't be like 3, 3, 6. Be like, you didn't buy the other 2? Well, this one's just a better deal, so you should probably buy this one. So, I was going to say, I don't own Injustice 2. I have it. I'm borrowing it from someone just so I could check it out. Yeah. But I want, like, the complete Injustice 2. That's what I'm waiting for, is where they have all these characters already in the game, built in on disc, and that's what I want. The gold edition of Injustice 2, as it were, if they end up making it. Some people are mad about this turtle thing. People are mad that it's not DC characters, like... We're a DC fighting game. Where's the DC characters? And I'm not mad about any of that, but I will say I'm surprised. Injustice 1 didn't have a whole lot of characters. And Injustice 2 has more, but doesn't have a whole lot of characters. But there's a lot of characters that are not in Injustice 2 that were in Injustice 1. Like, a lot. And it's surprising they didn't, like, do the quick repolish and try to ship them out in DLC as characters. Like, I don't think any of the DLC characters were characters from the first game. That's crazy to me. They had, I'm going to go off memory.
Okay.
Solomon Grundy, not in the game. Lex Luthor, not in the game. Shazam's not in the game. They might be a skin for him, not sure. But Shazam's not in the game. Zatanna's not in the game. Scorpion isn't, but I'm happy about that. Martian Manhunter, I don't think is in the game. Like, there's a handful of characters that didn't make it. There's another, like, big hulking character that's not Grundy, and Bane is. But there's another character like that that's not in the game. Like, Batgirl isn't in the game. Like, there's just a lot of characters that seem to... Killer Frost, that didn't make the cut in the second game. And I just always find that weird because you have them. Like, they're not done, but at least 30% of the work has to be done for you. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I find that strange. I would love if they announced that they were doing more fighter packs, and it was all like callback packs or whatever they want, retro packs, whatever they want to call it, and it contains those characters from the other games. There's a quote by Ed Boon, obviously in charge of the Injustice Mortal Kombat, world universe thing. Somebody asked, "Where's Zatanna?" Like they wanted like girl DLC or something, whatever. But they're like, "Where's Zatanna?" And he's like, "Wait for all the DLC packs, And she's definitely not in the DLC pack, so maybe there's more coming. That's my hope. But we'll see. It's exciting to me, even though I actually haven't even played it since I've had it for a real long time. I haven't even played it. Tekken's just too good. Tekken is so much better, and that's the problem. Next up, let's do one of the big stories. Let's do the big two stories that we have. Phil Spencer, head of Xbox, made some interesting remarks on the future of the Xbox, and I'm going to throw down a few quotes here. We'll see what this means, It looks like Xbox may soon take a similar path, talking about streaming games. PlayStation Now, a service where similar to Netflix, you can stream a game and just play through the game. Will probably debut a streaming service that doesn't require a console for some types of the content in the next 3 years. So PlayStation Now does this. You can stream it on PC. You used to be able to stream it on Vita, and it was actually really cool because that was the only place I liked streaming it. You can stream it on PS4, which is fine. I've done that before. But you could stream it on the Vita TV. You could stream it on iPads and tablets and phones. Like, the whole thing is that you're streaming the game, so there's no processing power going on to make The Last of Us run. So it looks like Xbox is looking to take a similar, step forward in this market. They already do the Games Pass, which I don't know if you have this. You play PS4?
Yes.
And then Cody plays Xbox mainly?
He'll swap between.
Okay.
Do
do you know if you have Game Pass at all? Do you know Game Pass,
Cody
how that
may,
works?
I don't.
So the way Game Pass works is you pay $10 a month, something like that. It's a really good deal. It might be $20. And you get access to this huge library of games. Halo 5, Mirror's Edge catalog, like big games, Sunset Overdrive, actual games that cost, you buy 2 of them used or whatever, it's going to equal that price anyway, and you have them for the month, and you can download them and play them. So you can play, you're not going to have that streaming problem where if your internet goes out, you can't play it and stuff like that. You get to play the games. You just get access to the games for the month. And that's really awesome, but it looks like they're trying it to at least take it a step further and do it with streaming, which in the past has not worked super well. People complain about Now. I've played on Now. I think it's fine, but it's definitely the worst way to experience some of those games. Like, you're probably better off, instead of buying a $120 subscription to PS Now for the year, you're probably better off buying a PS3 and then buying 6 of those games and then looking for the other ones cheap, or playing PlayStation Plus games that you're getting, things like that. But that was the first interesting comment. Next, he says, one day, Microsoft first-party games could appear on other platforms, such as Apple, iPhone, or perhaps even Sony's PlayStation 4, such as the building game Minecraft does. Minecraft, owned by Microsoft, on PS4, on Vita, checks out. This is true. So he was basically just talking, hey, we can put our first-party stuff on other things maybe. It seems like he's almost just kind of spitballing things that could happen in the future to Xbox. Like, it doesn't seem like any of these are concrete plans. They sounded very, maybe, one day, I don't know. It would be interesting, but, like, Microsoft's first-party stuff, with all due respect, Mr. Spencer, weak. Not great. I used to really like their first-party stuff when I feel like they focused on it more, but, like, they do the Halo and the Gears and stuff like that. And then they have these cool, like, second-party and spin-off things that don't do well. They had like Recore and Sunset Overdrive. They have Cuphead. Cuphead's good, but like I mean, a lot of those games are good, but they just don't sell well. And maybe this will help them sell if you just put them on more things. I don't know. We'll have to see. And then another big one. He acknowledged that console sales are important, but Microsoft is more focused on growing gaming software services. He said that the company measures success in the gaming business by revealing the number of people who use its online services, such as Xbox Live. So they're more interested in Game Pass, which is a service, Xbox Live, which is a service, whatever this new streaming thing is, which is probably a service. It seems like they're more interested in getting the subscription money than the money for the box, the money for the game. And if that's true, then you should be on everything because all you do is make more money. And it's easier for you because, as we always talk about on the show, Microsoft does not need Xbox. They're doing fine. They have a thing called Microsoft Office. They probably make a whole bunch of money selling those. You know, they have all their PCs and their Windows to sell. Like, they don't need Xbox at all. So maybe this is a way to either slowly phase it out or still have it in because it doesn't hurt them because they're not direct competitors anymore and just do streaming things on everything. I don't know. It seems like a weird future.
Yeah.
I don't want Xbox to go away because I think it's really weird to just have like PlayStation 4 is the only like home console, and then there's a Switch for portable stuff. That's it. Like, that's your only choices. That just feels wrong to me. But maybe in the future that's what happens. Mm-hmm. Or maybe Atari shows up and they make a terrible box and nobody wants it and it's really ugly. Next up. Probably the biggest news. Definitely the most expensive news. EA has purchased Respawn. Respawn, the developer of Titanfall, Titanfall 2. They have been published by EA, like their games have been published by EA, but now they have purchased them. And they put out a quote saying multiple projects are currently in development, a new title in the Titanfall franchise. So that was actually new news. So we're going to have a Titanfall 3, I assume. A game set in the Star Wars universe, which is something that we knew about, and a VR gaming experience, which I believe we knew about. This is weird to me. So the only thing that makes sense for this, why they bought it, because they closed Visceral, Dead Space. Love Dead Space. They closed down Visceral. They canned Amy Hennig's game, Star Wars game that looked awesome. Mm-hmm. 4 years of work, whatever it was, gone. They closed that whole studio. And then the next week, they bought a studio for $450 million, which I think he could have used some of that money to finish that Star Wars game. But anyway, and it seems like there's no reason to do this. And the only thing that I've heard kind of on the internet as a theory is that somebody else tried to buy them. Another major company tried to buy them, and EA was like, we'll just buy you now. So we don't have to deal with that because you make, well, I don't know if they make them money. Titanfall 2 didn't sell very well, but you have the ability to make us money. So we'll just buy you, and then that can't happen, and we'll probably close you in 3 years and cancel your Star Wars game. But yeah, so that's huge news. I don't know the rationale behind it closing what I thought was their best studio, and then purchasing this one for so much. Yeah. It just seems strange. But the only thing I can think of is like, I don't know who it would be, but like Activision or something. It's like, hey, we'll buy you. And the EA's like, nope, we'll seal the deal. We're done. So that's it for news. Let's move into 2 questions. But first, I want to throw out one comment, and then we'll get to another comment later. Zach Yonder said, I had no problems playing Nier on Steam without any mods. So this is going back, like I said, we talk about Nier a lot on the show. Going back a few weeks, we talked about Nier has problems on PC, on Steam in particular. Friend Kellen won't buy it because it doesn't work on Steam. he's like, I'll borrow the PS4 version and play it, but I don't want to like support them because they put out a game that doesn't work. Obviously, his copy on Steam worked fine, and that's kind of the problem with PC gaming in general, is that there's so many different things that can make up one, box, that figuring out what the problem is, like, is it A, is it B, or is it only when A and B are together in this box does it cause this issue, and that they have to, it takes a lot of money, and I didn't realize until I played The Witness and kind of watched a bunch of developer diary stuff on that. When there's a problem with a PC game, like people are complaining, oh, the frame rate doesn't work, whatever it is, the developers then have to like buy the specs of that computer that are having the problem, and then they try to emulate it and then solve what's wrong and then patch it into the game for that one thing. And then somebody else could be like, oh yeah, I have the NVIDIA 712 card and it doesn't work. And they're like, all right. And then they have to purchase that card and then test that card and then make a patch just to like, it's very cumbersome and complicated. That's why I don't play games on my PC unless it's RuneScape. But anyway, so yeah, the chances are, if he were to buy it for Steam, it would probably work. That would be my assumption. Chances are it would probably work. But do you want to gamble it? Like, do you want to buy it and then it not work? Not really. That'd feel real bad. So, let's do a question here. What draws the line between remasters, reimaginings, and reboots? So this was a question that was kind of brought up based on our top 10 lists that we do, where we say you can't have any sort of remasters or re-releases, only original, releases of games for our top 10 Vita, top 10 PS3, top 10, all that stuff. And the question comes up with like, okay, Persona 4 Golden on the Vita is Persona 4 for the PS2. And I think it's Persona 4 for the PS2 with a bunch more bells and whistles, a new, lick of paint, like, looks a lot better. They added a whole bunch to the game, but it's still Persona 4. And then there's Tomb Raider, which is a complete redo, right? But then there's, like, weird ones. Fire Emblem Echoes is a remake of a Fire Emblem 2 or whatever it is, but it's basically just the story of the game, and then they, like, redid the game. Like, at what point, how much do you have to do to make the game fit that, like, reimagining area, like that spot in the middle? And it's strange because when you think about it, there's really no line. There's things like Crash Bandicoot Collection, which is literally just Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 again, right? But they redid the whole game. Like, they built the game again. They didn't, like, take that game and then make it look prettier. They built the game from scratch again. Shadow of the Colossus is the same way. The new Shadow coming out in February, they rebuilt that game. So, like, it's not actually a remaster, even though it looks exactly like a remaster. It is kind of that middle ground, but, like, I don't think I could ever be like, oh, my favorite game of 2017 is Crash Bandicoot, because that's a game that came out in, like, 96. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So I don't know. What do you think? What do you think as far as remakes, remasters? Where would you draw the line? What are some things that might tip the scales for you?
For me, a remaster is, again, I don't know, like, the book definition.
Yeah, for you.
But for a remaster, I think that it's still taking the base of everything, like the foundation, and reworking, like, for textures or voices or, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a remaster, just making it look better with the same base.
Final Fantasy X remastered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, like, HD collection, something like that. Reboot, to me, would definitely be reworking the full structure of everything. And then with reimagining, it's like taking a concept or something and then making it better or just restructuring it.
So, like, the big one for me, and it's strange because sometimes they do the reimagining, not remake from the ground up type thing, and like it's totally different, and then it's obvious. Silent Hill and Silent Hill Shattered Memories, same story, both the same idea, like they're Silent Hill 1, they're both the starting point for Silent Hill, but they're totally different games. One is, the survival horror, old tank controls, top-down explore the town thing, and one's a more linear, like psychological, third-person shooter without a gun type experience.
Is that the one where you just run?
Yes, okay. And you have the flashlight.
Yeah.
And ask you the questions, So they're like, it's easy. They're totally different games. You can look at them and be totally different. But like where I was having the problem is things like Crash Bandicoot, where they rebuilt that game. Like they redid it. And what if they redo it but only to a certain extent, or they add a whole bunch to it, and I mean like a whole bunch to it, like the Persona 4 stuff, or even Persona 3, which was the portable version of it, and it had a whole nother protagonist line. Like you could play as a girl and play the whole game as a girl, which is totally different. They got rid of walking around the city and turned it into like a point and click adventure type thing. Like it's very different. I don't know. And it luckily hasn't been a huge problem for us for just like the ranking videos that we do yet. I thought it was going to be with Echoes because me, Nick, and Kellen we actually cut it out of the video, but we got into a little thing where we're like, you can't pick Echoes. And he's like, it's not a remake. And I was like, yes, it is. It's a remake of the game. And he's like, no, it's not. And he's like, it tells the same story, but it's a different game. And I was like, no. And then he's like, it doesn't matter because it's not on my list anyway, whatever. And then when I was editing that video and I was like re-listening to it, I was like, oh, I see what he means. He's like, it's like more like a Tomb Raider where they just redid the thing. It's hard if you don't know the original game and the new one. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know where that line is. So interesting question. If you have any sort of insight onto what you think would qualify for the gray area, that's what I want to know. I know, up the textures, new voice acting maybe.
Right.
A new dungeon or something, like if it's Zelda. That's a HD remake. Most of those call themselves HD remakes. But yeah, when it is like presented as a new game, like Echoes was, like Shattered Memories, like even Tomb Raider, though Tomb Raider is a reboot because it's not the same story. Like, that is where it gets weird, and I don't know what to do and what to consider. And, like, for my personal Game of the Year stuff, when I talk about Game of the Year, I want to have stuff that released this year. And it's like, I don't know if this qualifies. Help me qualify that. Next up, let's go into a couple comments. First off, World's End comments on a whole bunch of our videos, and he first put out something about the PlayStation 4 Pro. He said that he personally got a Pro because of Rise of the Tomb Raider. There we go. Fitting. Because the support was fantastic. So basically the way that this works is it gives you three options when you use a Pro. You can do a 4K mode, you can do a high frame rate mode, or you can do a 1080p, like super nice visuals and physics mode. So you get to pick which one you want. If you don't have a 4K TV, you still have an awesome mode for your 1080p television on your Pro, your 4K box. And this is one of the only games that does this. And I think this should be literally the standard for what they do with Pro and X support with these like updated consoles. And then the 4K should almost be the secondary thing because not many people have 4K. Like 4K is the luxury. Most people have the 1080p. You should make a cool 1080p mode that has, a higher frame rate and some better visuals or, So I agree with the Tomb Raider thing. Now let's move into something I kind of disagree with. And that is this Days Gone conversation. So I'm going to use a little bit of his post, and then we're gonna switch it around because we're not directly going to be referencing what he was talking about. I just want to kind of throw out the comparison, just to compare. So here we go. As for Days Gone, I don't get why people complain about it. It looks fantastic to me. for people who are saying it looks too much like The Last of Us, maybe they should watch the trailers again or watch some of the dev interviews. The Last of Us is very linear, a 10-hour story. Days Gone is an open world and probably 40 hours with vast mechanics. I don't see how The Last of Us is in any way looks like Days Gone, in it just like it doesn't look like Dead Rising, State of Decay, Resident Evil, or any other zombie game. Days Gone is 100% different format and theme. The fact that you didn't know what the Last of Us trailer was, and he's talking about that trailer for The Last of Us 2 last week, isn't that saying more about The Last of Us than Days Gone? So I do want to just point out a few things and then go into the discussion. Like, yes, Resident Evil is straight horror game. They market it as a horror game. It looks like a horror game. Dead Rising's always been the fun in the mall type thing. You're making the crazy weapons and you're having fun. You know, it's the fun zombie thing. The problem with Days Gone and The Last of Us is in tone, they're very similar. They're both dour. I would say Days Gone's a little more hopeful, but they're both very dour, very dark, very grounded. Very, the world is lost now. And you could say there's a million things like that. Like The Walking Dead is very similar to that. And I would say, yeah, it is. And the thing that makes The Walking Dead good for people, I don't personally like The Walking Dead, but that makes The Walking Dead good for people and Last of Us good for people is the characters. It's Ellie. It's Joel. It's, I don't know, Dagan? Is that guy on the show? I don't know any of the Walking Dead people. But, like, it's the characters that make that work. And then it's typically a pretty simple story with just a lot of character development and emotional attachment to things and people, and terrible stuff happens. And that's where, you know, it comes from. Days Gone looks like it has the possibility to do all of that. But I don't know these characters yet. I haven't spent any time with them. So to me, it looks like generic dude. You know, generic biker dude. And I like the biker stuff, but they don't emphasize that very much in the trailers, at least. Like, this game looks like it could take place in the Last of Us universe completely. If you just remove the freakers and put in clickers, I don't think anyone would question it. Like, it looks like it could just be another city during the Last of Us, you know, the outbreak. So how about you? What do you think? And like the art styles so similar. They're both going for realistic, but like Horizon looked realistic too. But it also had these robot like it had its twist, its thing. You talk about like God of War has the child now in the new God of War, which is very similar once again to The Last of Us, but you're still fighting these Norse mythology beasts, and like it doesn't feel like The Last of Us in that, even though they lowered the camera and put it behind his back just like The Last of Us to get that like cinematic. You're able to do that thing where the camera kind of cuts and it looks very correct when you do it like that for whatever reason. And that's what The Last of Us did to me so well, is like it fused the gameplay with its story very well. It just flowed together, and usually there's a jarring like cutscene, you know what I mean? And it seems like God of War is going to try to do that maybe even better than The Last of Us did it. But like to me, Days Gone just looks like it's doing all that stuff and then nothing else that I'm like, wow, that's what this game is about. You know, how are you feeling about comparing these two? You think they're different? You think they're the same? What do you think?
Like earlier when we did watch the, what was it, the second trailer for The Last of Us?
Yeah.
Again, oh, sorry, my bad.
That's fine.
I don't quite have that connection with either game's characters just yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still kind of up in the air for that. But at least for gameplay for Days Gone, to me it looks different. At least for the whole thing of like mobs will go after you, you need to keep going, stuff like that. At least that has that going for it.
Sure. So is the fact that it's a mob of zombies any different than it being one zombie, though, if it just kills you? Because in The Last of Us, if the zombie grabs you, you just die.
Yeah, I do.
So, like, if they grab you and you just die in this, is it any different? Again, now, to be fair, I don't actually think that's how it works. I do think you have more of, like, a health system in this. But, like, to me, you can talk about, Days Gone is an open world game. And that's true. It's probably like in actuality way more like Horizon than it is The Last of Us, and that's fun. It's an open world game. You have your motorcycle, your gang, which that's what I'm most excited for about the game. But like, that's not what they're showing. When they do a demo at PSX, they do a linear stealth section. They throw a thing. The guys go distract it. You set a trap. You go do the like. It's all stuff that people have done in The Last of Us, and I think the problem might be is that the whole Simpsons did it. Like The Last of Us might have just done it better, and people think it's going to do it better, and therefore it makes this an easy target. Like the whole if Days Gone was an only child, it might be very loved, but it's got a brother, The Last of Us, and it's making him look really bad. Like that's kind of how I feel that this is going.
I guess also from like another perspective, when doing a demo, you need to make sure it's a somewhat controlled environment. So maybe that's another reason why they're doing that. And because there's that slight familiarity with what you previously know through like other games such as The Last of Us, so that you know that if you know these mechanics, it'll be easier to step into that game.
Yeah, the other thing is they might be doing it on purpose. Like we as gamers might be like, okay, this looks like The Last of Us, like, but you know what was Naughty Dog's best selling game on the PlayStation 3? The Last of Us. Like maybe they want people to think this is like The Last of Us because they'll buy the game then. And that's a marketing tactic. Whether it's working or not, we'll see. But it's possible that they're like purposely trying to invoke that, And I don't really think it was that big of a problem until they announced The Last of Us 2. That's when it really became a problem. And that's when the things like he talks about not knowing what The Last of Us trailer was, like whether it was The Last of Us or Days Gone. Isn't that more of a Last of Us problem? Yeah, that was a bad trailer for The Last of Us. I didn't realize that was The Last of Us until I saw, the technical stuff going into it. And I'm like, this is only Naughty Dog, like, of course. But I didn't care. That doesn't mean the trailer's good because it was pretty. Like, I don't care about the characters. Like, The Last of Us to me is Ellie and Joel and a little bit of, like, the clickers in the world and stuff like that. But, like, Ellie and Joel are what I care about. And if they were to announce, like, okay, this game, you're playing as these characters, and Ellie and Joel are, like, side characters, I'd be like, I don't want to play this game. That sounds like a game I don't want to play.
That is very understandable, yeah.
So, it was hard to tell because, to be fair, the grounded, gritty zombie thing has been done so many times, and like I said, it's the characters that make it matter, and you don't know the characters until you watch it or play it or read it, whatever medium it is. And like for the original trailers for The Last of Us, I didn't like those either. I thought they looked like a generic zombie game. I was like, oh cool, you have like a companion, but they seemed like generic zombie stuff, and then I got the game. Well, actually, then the reviews came out, and it turned out it was amazing. And then I got the game, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. But like they didn't sell me on the trailers with The Last of Us either. Like I got it based on the reviews, not the trailers. So there's that. There's the another thing that he brought up was the companion ship. You have Ellie in The Last of Us, and in God of War, Kratos has that boy. I can't remember his name, but you have him, and they're like, is everybody copying The Last of Us? Is that what's happening? I think everybody's being influenced by it for sure, and I think that the difference is companions, not escorting somebody, not putting Ashley in the dumpster.
I was just thinking.
So you can go shoot the zombies and then get her out of the dumpster, like they help you fight. They are, they save you if you're in trouble. They talk to you. They keep you company. Like they are a companion. They are an equal. And I think that's a big part for the, argument for having a kid with you. And it's like, oh, it's not the first time that's been done. In God of War 3, you have Pandora. She doesn't do, she does stuff in the story, but she's not fighting with you, like going toe-to-toe with Kratos, Ellie could go toe-to-toe with Joel type thing. So, I think that they look very similar. I don't think you could convinced me that they don't. I think that first trailer for Days Gone is the best. The one where he's talking about life before it happened, because that's interesting. He's talking about, I assume, his wife. They're riding on the motorcycle. He was in this gang. He's way more of a fighter, it seems like. He talks about being like a mercenary or a bounty hunter. He seems way more like that. But then when it comes down to it, when they show the gameplay, he's going through things, collecting parts, building stuff for his gun, trying to be quiet, screws up, the zombies come after him. And that's the game. Like, that was what they showed. And that seems like a zombie thing. And you know what's a zombie thing? The Last of Us. Like, it just happens to be the top dog, so everything's getting compared to it. That's really all it is. But yeah, I hope... Like, I mean, I obviously want to like every game. Like, I really wanted to like Horizon. I didn't like Horizon. But I really wanted to like Horizon, and I went into that totally like, okay, let's do this. And I was just like, I don't like this game. And I really feel like that's how I'm going to feel with Days Gone. But that's kind of how I thought I felt with The Last of Us, and I love that game. So maybe it'll get me. I hope at PSX we see it. I hope they come out on stage and, like, talk about the game. Like, please explain more. Show us the map. You know, show us how big the world is. Like, do something. Show us how many resources there are in the world and all the stuff you can build or something like that. Because if this is more like Final Fantasy 15 with zombies instead of, like, weird fantasy beasts, because you know how you have your gang in Final Fantasy 15, you know, you're kind of camping out. It's like a road trip game. If it's more like that, that's a cool way to, like, maybe market this a little more. So be like, oh, it's like Final Fantasy 15 with zombies. Another game I didn't like. Let's move into the releases. So there's a bunch of game releases. We'll go over them, and then we'll end the show. How's that sound? Then we can go play Tekken, which is going to be a lot of fun. We haven't played Tekken 7 yet.
I know.
We've played all the... So we used to play Tekken like crazy.
Yes.
Like
every day.
Like, all the time... for multiple hours. And this is how it would go. I remember how it would go. This is how it would go. We'd start, and you'd beat me like 4-1, basically, all the time. We'd play for hours. And then there was like this perfect middle point where we would be 50-50.
Yeah.
Going back and forth. And then something happens, and then I beat you 4-1. And then eventually we stop playing.
I feel like the longer I play, the worse I start getting.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed that.
I don't know why it happens. It just does.
And then, like, we'll stop whatever, and we'll play the next day or the next week or whenever we got back to it. And then it was back to that, you're beating me 4-1 again, and then there's the 50-50. And then I don't know if your hands just get tired and you can't do the combos anymore, but I'll take advantage of it, and I'll get my wins where I can. So that's gonna be fun. Mm-hmm. So let's do these releases really quick. Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 is coming out for PS4, Xbox One, PC on November 14th. I actually enjoyed the first Lego Marvel Superhero game quite a lot, though I think this one's kind of controversial because it doesn't have the X-Men or any of that stuff. Like, all the rights things are all tied up and people are all worried. LA Noire is coming to the PS4, Xbox One, and the Switch on November 14th. That's cool. Cool Switch game to get. Demon Gaze 2 is coming to PS4 and PlayStation Vita November 14th. I put that on here because it was a Vita game. Rocket League is coming to the Switch November 14th. That is a perfect Switch game. Rime is coming to the Switch November 14th. I really liked Rime. Have you seen Rime at all? It's kind of like, it looks like Wind Waker. It doesn't play like Wind Waker. Oh. It looks like Wind Waker. It plays like Ico. Have you played Ico at all? The Shadow of the Colossus world game. It plays like Ico. I really liked it. I think it has a really good story, and like I guess the payoff at the end I thought was really good. So I enjoyed that game a lot. I don't know how it'll run on Switch because I don't know. I feel like they seem to have some problems optimizing it for other things. So we'll see how the Switch version goes. Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon 3DS November 17th. I did not realize that. I guess they always try to get those out before Black Friday, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Do you have interest in this? Do you like Sun and Moon?
I like the previous one better than Sun and Moon, to be honest.
I think I told you. So Moon was my first Pokemon game.
Yeah, you did tell me.
God, I didn't like it.
I'm sorry.
I think I told you what happened. I got to the very end, and they're like, "Oh, there's 4 people you need to fight or whatever." And I was like, "All right," and I beat all 4 of them. And then they're like, "Oh, there's another person." And I'm like,
Honestly, it keeps going.
I don't have Pokemon, I don't have potions, and I'm done with this game." And I never played it again. I was like, I
That's
beat
sad.
it. You told me there was 4. I beat 4 people.
Surprise.
Yeah, I don't like that surprise. Next up, Star Wars Battlefront 2, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, coming November 17th. A busy day. Skyrim VR, November 17th. Skyrim Switch, November 17th. 2 different versions of Skyrim, same day. Still kicking. And then finally, The Sims 4 is coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, November 17th. Sims on consoles, miserable. Have you ever played a Sims on console? You play The Sims?
I have played The Sims.
Most
but
people
not
have
on
played The
console.
Sims. You play The Sims on console, it is just a handicap. It's horrible. Maybe they've done a better job, but like I almost feel like putting it on Switch and just making it a touchscreen game is probably the best way to go for something like that.
Yeah.
I guess you can pause in The Sims, so like that's kind of your breathing point. Like you can like pause everything and then plan stuff out. I guess maybe I don't know. I don't remember. Sims 4. I played Sims 2, and that was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
There was that hot date expansion, and then something with puppies. I think I don't remember.
Nice.
Anyway, that's it for this episode of the Press X podcast. Thank you for being here, Yuri,
Oh, no problem.
and thank you so much for watching. We'll speak with you next time.